Jacob Lawrence, American Scenes, American Struggles by Nancy Schroyer Howard. Jacob Lawrence, American Scenes, American Struggles. Let's go. Meet Jacob Lawrence, a masterful artist of the 20th century America. He was born in New Jersey in 1917. He grew up in Harlem in New York and now lives in Seattle, Washington. Where is everyone going? Look at who is taking a train ride north. Jacob Lawrence's mother traveled from the south to Atlantic City in the north. Can you see how Jacob shows people feeling hopeful about a new life in the north? Jacob joined his mother in New York City in 1930. They lived in a neighborhood called Harlem. Jacob was 13. Harlem was exciting. Jacob Lawrence loved the Apollo Theater in Harlem. He would go there to see the comedians, the chorus lines, the dance performance. Jacob also loved museums. Harlem became crowded, rents went up, and jobs were scarce. It was 1930. Harlem was poor. Jacob often disappeared into the public library. There, he could read armloads of books, take art classes, hear stories, and see African art. It became a living experience for us, a very important part of my life, he said. One of Jacob's heroes is the man who freed Haiti from slavery, Toussaint L'Ouverture. Next, Jacob painted Frederick Douglass, a slave who became a great American hero. Jacob Lawrence painted the Frederick Douglass story in 32 scenes. He wrote about part of Frederick's life below each picture. Frederick wanted to learn to read, but the slave master would not allow it. Slaves were not allowed to read and write. They were only allowed to work and obey. Secretly, Frederick studied and learned with white friends. Alone, he read about freedom and rights. Years later, white slave owners said they would kill Frederick if he tried to teach other slaves to read and write. When slaves did not obey, they were beaten. When they tried to escape, they were often caught. Free at last, Frederick Douglass spent the rest of his life working against slavery. Have you noticed how carefully Jacob Lawrence arranges his paintings? Then came a series of paintings about Harriet Tubman, an escaped slave who risked her life to free others. Harriet worked hard. She grew strong and tough, but her head injury made her faint at times, so she was sold to another slave owner. Her dream was to be free. One night, Harriet Tubman escaped. It was a dangerous trip to freedom. If caught in the United States, she would be sent back to her owner. That was the law. She would be punished. She might never be free. Harriet Tubman rescued more than 300 slaves. In the North, Harriet Tubman told hundreds of people about the evils of slavery. She raised money for her secret rescue missions. She also worked by cooking and cleaning people's houses, saving enough money for each dangerous trip south. Have you noticed how Jacob Lawrence tells stories using simple objects to express his ideas? These symbols are everywhere. A serpent stands for danger. The North Star symbolizes hope. A whip means violence. Pen and paper represent learning. A chain stands for slavery. A broken chain symbolizes freedom. In 1941, Jacob Lawrence began a series of paintings called The Migration. Then came good days for Jacob Lawrence. He married an artist who also lived in Harlem. Jacob painted a fourth hero in the legend of John Brown. Jacob Lawrence plans and paints each series in an amazing way. As he adds color, he leaves some places white. Sometimes he paints one color over another. During the World War II, many African Americans fought for their country, yet the struggle for equality at home was not over. African Americans had to use separate restaurants and hotels, and they were made to ride in the back of buses. Jacob Lawrence shows how a little girl named Alice feels when she tries to enter a white school. People yell at her, horrible things. They seem like monsters to Alice. What expressions does the artist give the six monsters? Jacob Lawrence had become a famous painter of the American scene. Jimmy Carter invited him to his inauguration as President of the United States. Jacob Lawrence decided not to show at the inauguration in his painting. Instead, he showed everyday people of all races watching the ceremonies from the trees. Have you noticed that Jacob Lawrence has many ways of painting faces? In recent years, Jacob Lawrence has designed enormous murals. He creates these wall designs on steel panels. Have you guessed that Jacob Lawrence loves to picture tools and people using tools? Drills and hammers, carving knife and fork, and what else can you find? Let's end with a wonderful puzzle-like picture. This painting vibrates with all the things Jacob Lawrence has loved for years. Bits of Harlem, entertainers and dancers, builders and tools, big blocks of solid color, basketball players.